Hey, it's been a while since I last made a video. A lot has happened over the last 9 months. You haven't really seen me. I made a game, I started an internship, and we had a new baby, so that's awesome, but as you could probably expect, time is pretty limited for me. But I still really wanted to get my thoughts out there and make stuff about cool games that I've been playing, so this is sort of my compromise, where I kind of have a change of structure a little bit, you know, a little less scripty, more just kind of free-flowing, and my thoughts on some games that I have been playing lately, and so I hope that you're kind of down for that. There's a lot more that I want to talk about in the near future, and this is a way that I can make it happen. So, without further ado, let's talk about UNSIGHTED. This is a game that I really wanted to cover, and sort of made me push to really get back into making videos. I gave this game a try a while back, and I sort of fell off in the beginning. I didn't get very far into it, and then I heard how good it was from friends that really talked it up and said I really needed to try it. And so I tried again, and something about it just clicked. It easily just fell into place, and I fell in love. This is a sort of Zelda-esque, you know, top-down adventure game, but the major twist being that everyone that you come in contact with is on limited time, and will eventually turn unsighted, which means that they, you know, lose their humanity and become this feral monster. Well, everyone's a robot, so not really lose their humanity, but you get what I mean. Everyone in this world is an automatron, and they live off something called anima, which is their sort of, you know, life force, their juice. And then, you know, aliens invaded, or I guess it's like humans doing experiments. I guess they did, you know, it's not necessarily clear. But basically they came down and cut off that supply. There was this big gem that supplied it for everyone, but not anymore. And so now the clock is ticking even for yourself. The sort of unwritten rule with this game is to try and beat it before anyone kicks the bucket, but it does have a pretty free-flowing objective that's not really set in stone. You just need to collect these 5 crystal shards to unlock the final area and restore the anima for everyone. So while the gameplay feels like this normal Metroidvania, you know, you're going and unlocking new abilities and going through these dungeons, there is sort of this constant looming threat with every step you take. You only have so much time left. Supposedly, it legit wipes your save file if you run out of time, but I never got that close. The saving grace of this game is something called meteor dust, and this is an item that you can give to other people, and it restores 24 hours of life to whomever you give it to. So you can save it all for yourself and, you know, just make sure that you never run out, or give it to others who are close to dying. And this adds a really cool strategic element, because there are some people that are more beneficial than others, like, you know, shopkeepers or blacksmiths that can give you upgrades or special abilities, while there are other characters that you kind of gain a connection with, like your flying friend Iris here, who has a lot less time than you do. And if you give more meteor dust to somebody, you grow a bond with them and gain little extra benefits. Like sometimes someone will give you this ability to install upgrade chips from anywhere in the game, not just at save points. Of course, you don't have to save anyone, but it sort of does a good job of making you balance the practicality of staying alive to play the game, but, you know, tugging at your innate instincts to try and help others if you have the ability to do so. Maybe it was just me, but I chose sacrifice over a cushier time limit almost every time someone got close to the end. There's this like dog friend that you get pretty early on, and he actually needs to sleep and eat, and you know, you gotta take care of him, and so it actually takes 3 hours off of your time limit if you need to have your dog sleep. And so it's like, that sucks, I want more time, but also like he helps me fight baddies, so like I love him, you know? There is a decent amount of meteor dust to go around, but there's also quite a lot of NPCs to try to save, so you're encouraged to explore and find more, but then again, it's like sort of a catch-22, because the longer you do side objectives or hunt for treasure, that's also lowering everyone's clock. It really helps that the main gameplay loop is so incredibly satisfying, though. Once you find the entrance to one of the shards, it's sort of like a basic Zelda dungeon with new abilities that you unlock, puzzles, etc. Capped off with a really cool boss fight. And, you know, these dungeons are really fun. One of my favorites was the factory, where you can switch on the furnace, and there's this, like, super powerful mech suit that you can only use when it's turned on. but that also puts like flame walls and lava pits in your way, so you have to turn things on and off, and it was just really cool. The new abilities you gain also make movement better and getting around. Like there's this top spinner thing to go on these tracks, but eventually it just lets you go faster in the main world and break open new pathways. Or this hook shot that lets you go just across totally empty gaps. So it really does have that beautiful Metroidvania progression. As I mentioned earlier, there are chips you can install for added power, but there's also cogs, which are like limited boosted power or stamina, or like things that help you revive when you die. And you use crafted items in the world to build them, so you know, there is sort of like that collection aspect, but it's pretty streamlined. You don't have to like keep track of how many of items you have. It kind of does it all for you with blueprints, so if you just want to get back to the action, you can do that too. I think just overall, the entire package, it really just pulls off really well what it tries to do. Now, what I didn't expect going in was how many secrets, hidden mechanics, and even like sequence breaking that the game intends for you to do. There's hidden bosses if you meet certain requirements and find like secret areas. It actually like pulls a Super Metroid and has a wall jump feature that you don't know about until later in the game. It pretty much wants you to try and break the regular path that it lays out, because there are achievements for like finding things early or beating bosses that you're intended to die to and things like that. And then there's all sorts of cool time saves you can execute by playing again in New Game Plus, where you retain all of your items and power-ups. It goes much, much faster. In fact, I think you're intended to like play it once through and be like, oh no, some people died along the way, but like let me try again in New Game Plus and I'll do it much faster and you can save everybody. Now, I should mention though, if that thought of the time limit kind of makes you anxious and it's like, I don't want to deal with that at all, that's totally optional. You can just enjoy the game for what it is and turn that mode off entirely. But I will say that core mechanic is what made UNSIGHTED so unique for me. Making these decisions about who to save is sort of this meta that's overlaying the regular gameplay. That said though, I sort of wish it did a little bit more, you know? There isn't like a huge loss if someone becomes unsighted, other than like the sad sight of watching them turn. There wasn't even like a count or, you know, encouragement to do better on the stat screen after you beat the game. It's sort of just like this subtext, this subliminal, hey, you should probably try to save people. There was also this one thing where I found a note from Iris's siblings saying to come find them, but when you get there, you arrive too late and they're already gone. And it was like, whoa, it's like this hard-hitting moment. But then in New Game Plus, I had this like epiphany. I was excited. Oh, I could go back and visit the same place much earlier. And I get there and it even did the whole like, whoa, how did you know the code thing? And it's like, oh, sweet. Okay, maybe I unlocked something really clever. But then I was still too late and it didn't change anything. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but maybe that was sort of intentional, you know, like maybe that's the message here is like, you can't save everyone, you know? Either way, that was sort of like a really neat spin on top of a great just genre that I love already, and UNSIGHTED was easily one of the most unique games I played from last year. I think it's a must play, you need to play it. If not for the attempting to save everyone aspect, at least for the killer soundtrack, heart-pumping bosses, and the solid map-former adventure that it is. I don't want to spoil more than I already have. I feel like I probably said too much, but there's a lot more under the surface if you're willing to put some time in. Just know that every action has a cost. So hey, thanks for watching. Like I said, there's more games that I'd like to cover if I have the time in the future, so let me know if this type of video is okay, if you like this format, or if you'd rather see stuff more like my previous content. I get it too. Just let me know in the comments, and thanks for sticking with me, and I know it's been a long break, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Bye!